You Deserve a Lover is a 2019 French romantic drama film directed by Hafsia Herzi, in which Hafsia Herzi stars as Leila, a young woman who longs for love. However, she must end her relationship with Remy and faces many challenges thereafter. The film opens with Leila attempting to enter a building, but she is denied access. Undeterred, she waits outside and manages to slip inside when someone else exits. Leila explains that a friend of hers resides in the building. After sneaking into the building, Leila places her ears at Remy's bedroom door before going outside to sit. When her boyfriend Remy emerges from the building, she confronts him and notices another woman in his apartment. Leila demands that the other woman, Myriam, come out and they have a conversation. Myriam never really confesses to sleeping with Remy. She only claims that she was comforting him. Feeling hurt and betrayed, Leila insults Remy and talks about ending things with him. She returns home and cries outside her bedroom window, as the movie title is displayed on the screen. Meanwhile, Leila sits with her friend Ali on a bed, and they discuss how Remy never loved Leila. Ali expresses his hatred towards Remy and wishes him a slow and painful death, comparing him to a sick politician with a swollen head. He reassures Leila that she will be over him in just 2 weeks and plays music to cheer her up, singing and dancing along. Leila returns to his place and sees a woman's handbag on the couch as he opens the door. Disappointedly, Leila squats and cries as he watches. She asks him questions about Myriam, the other woman, and why he brought her there. Remy proudly tells her that he was not hiding anything from her. Leila is hurt and leaves Remy's front door. Outside, her friend trails Myriam and gathers information about her. Later, Leila shows up at Myriam's workplace, but Myriam tells her that she cannot barge in like that. Leila tells her to end things with Remy and leaves. When Leila gets home, she finds Remy waiting for her. He tells her that he misses her, and they both enter the apartment. Leila lays on the couch while Remy complains to her. He then reveals that he will be leaving for Bolivia in 3 weeks. Leila says that she will be fine, but then pleads with him not to go. Remy moves in on her, and they kiss passionately. After they stop kissing, he kisses her again, but she seems uninterested. He forces another kiss on her and tells her not to cry. He continues to kiss her and makes a joke about loving her infection, which makes her laugh. Leila and Ali visit a spiritual leader who asks personal questions about Remy. The leader writes down all the information on a piece of paper, wraps it in cellophane tape, and tells them the job is done. They pay the leader and leave together. Later, Leila and the strange man enter Remy's place. The man chants as he walks through the house and places the wrapped paper in Remy's pillow. Leila and the man hold hands and close their eyes. The scene changes, and Leila is at a picnic with some people who discuss what she has done to Remy and badmouth him. They tell her to forget about him, and Leila leaves. As she walks out, she is stopped by a man named Jonathan, and they strike up a conversation about her ethnicity. He asks her out, saying he has no deceptive plans and that she can get rid of him if she wants. They have a brief introduction before he tells her to call him. Leila goes through a series of depressive stages before she is seen cooking in the kitchen with Jonathan. He tells her she looks sad and asks about her love life. They continue talking about different subjects in life, ranging from childhood stories to bullying, his modeling career, and his acceptance of himself. While cooking, Leila offers to help Jonathan, but he insists that she get comfortable. They sit down to drink wine, and Jonathan notices that Leila seems tense. He offers to give her a massage, which she agrees to. He begins to massage her in a sensual manner. He compliments her softness, kisses the back of her neck, and then kisses her lips. The next morning, Leila wakes up in Jonathan's bed feeling sad. He caresses her and then goes to the kitchen to make breakfast. Leila uses the opportunity to sneak out of his apartment, but Jonathan calls out to her and checks on her after she leaves. He looks out the window and sees her running down the street. Later, Remy calls Leila, and they talk for a while. She tells him she is going grocery shopping and continues her walk, where she runs into 3 people she knew, including her ex, Baptiste. Leila and Baptiste sit down at a restaurant and talk about their past, and Baptiste expresses his disappointment about her disappearance and how much he had loved her. The other friends joined in the conversation, and they all had a good laugh. Ali is dancing in a club when Leila and her group of friends arrive on the scene. Ali takes a selfie with them before coming down from the stage to join Leila in dancing, and they all have a great time together. Meanwhile, Leila is sitting in a cafe, where a waiter is staring at her. He asks an elderly man about her and expresses his desire to take a photo of her. The man introduces the waiter as his nephew and makes a few jokes before clumsily explaining that his nephew wants to take a picture of Leila. The nephew takes over the conversation for a bit, and the uncle eventually calls him annoying and leaves them to talk. The nephew then explains his intention more clearly to Leila, who agrees to have her photo taken to help him out. They exchange numbers, and the nephew eventually leaves. Later, Myriam and her best friend Kahina visit Leila. Myriam inquires about Remy and asks if Leila is still in touch with him. She reveals that she, too, is in contact with Remy and that he has been lying to her. Myriam shows Leila evidence on her phone of their contact history and pictures, and Kahina corroborates her story. Miriam informs Leela that Remy was crazy about her and performed all sorts of romantic gestures. She tells Leela that Remy had started to harass her the previous week, sending her pictures and videos and declaring Leela to be the love of his life. Miriam declares that she is done with Remy and has moved on to a new relationship, and she and Kahina take their leave. Leela and Ali visit a spiritual leader and boast about his success in making relationships work. However, he questions Leela's fidelity and warns that his charm will be ineffective if she is having affairs with other men. Ali and Leela express surprise at this, and the spiritual leader becomes angry, chasing them away from his property and calling them troublemakers. Later, Leela complains about Remy on the phone to an older woman. She sits in her room, contemplating her situation. Ali suggests that she and a friend take a 3-day trip to Venice to get away from it all. Leela expresses concern about her job, but Ali suggests she take a sick leave of absence. He persuades her with more reasons to travel. Leela eventually agrees to go on the trip, but asks Ali to register her on a dating app with her real name. However, Ali suggests vulgar usernames for Leela, and they continue talking as the scene changes. In the next scene, Leela is on a park bench with a man who compliments her appearance and seems genuinely interested in her. He talks about his own interests but also gives her a chance to speak. In contrast, the next man Leela is with seems to be a narcissist and talks incessantly about himself, without giving her a chance to contribute to the conversation. The dates alternate, highlighting the difference in the men's behavior. Leela strolls through the park with a man, enjoying his company and laughing at another man's explanation. Eventually, she and the first man sit on the ground and discuss their future while sharing some ice cream. Later, Leela heads to the studio with Charlie, a waiter from the cafe. As he watches, she removes her jewelry and tank top before getting ready for her photo shoot. Charlie directs her to the platform, where he takes pictures of her in various poses. They chat amiably throughout the shoot, with Charlie helping Leela remove her necklace and changing the location of her ring. Afterwards, they go to a restaurant, where Charlie asks Leela if she's currently in a relationship. She confides that she recently ended a complicated relationship, telling him about her ex's habits. Charlie shares that he's also in a complicated relationship and wonders aloud if he still loves his girlfriend. They discuss Remy, with Leela assuring Charlie that he's doing the opposite of working on himself in Bolivia. They laugh over Remy, bonding over their shared experiences. As the scene closes, Leela can't help but laugh. Leela and her friends arrive at a party at Sergio's apartment, who used to date her friend's sister. Ali screams excitedly as he joins the party, and Leela and the others follow. They get introduced to a number of people, including Sergio, who talks to Leela more than the others. Leela leaves their side feeling uncomfortable, catching the attention of Sergio, who keeps looking at her. Donia, Leela's friend, and another woman gossip about Sergio, telling Leela that he keeps looking at her. The music changes and the people become more enthusiastic to dance. Sergio moves to Leela to talk some more and asks her for a dance. The conversation continues for a while before he leads her to the dance floor. Ali looks at them as he dances with Ayman, a man he met at the party. Donia looks at Leela and Sergio dancing and says she likes Sergio. At first, Leela is uninterested in dancing, but slowly starts enjoying the music and begins dancing while smiling. A woman in the crowd sees them dancing and becomes irritated. She accuses another woman, Mauna, of setting Leela up to dance with Sergio. The woman pushes Mauna and continues yelling. Mauna tries to handle the situation as best as she can, but the woman slaps her, and a fight breaks out between the two. Sergio and Ayman rush to the scene to separate the two women. Leela and her female friends leave the party. Ali assures the men that wild women will always fight. Sergio searches for Leela, but can't find her. He asks Ali, and he tells him they left because they dislike scum and trouble. They are not violent but classy. Sergio asks for Leela's number, and Ali challenges him and asks for payment. After Sergio agrees to pay him, he says he'll think about it. Ayman looks at them and smiles. Sergio is waiting outside Leela's apartment when he sees her approaching. He kneels with a bouquet in his hand, cracks a joke, and pleads with Leela to accept the flowers. He gets up and starts flirting with her, asking to buy her a drink. However, Leela has to drop some items in her apartment, so she invites him upstairs. After they enter the building, Sergio mentions that he had missed something at the party. He then pins Leela against the wall and starts kissing her. They start making out in the hallway, and Sergio compliments Leela before attempting to put his hand up her skirt. Leela stops him, telling him it's risky, but he insists it is more exciting that way. Sergio pulls out a contraceptive and they continue making out. They start having intimate relations in the hallway, but it doesn't last long. Sergio claims he was too excited. Leela tells him it's okay and they kiss some more. As Leela and her friends watch, Ali sits on Ayman's lap and answers their questions. Ali admits that he was initially worried that Ayman would be more interested in Sergio, but he accidentally says the wrong name. Mauna corrects him, which makes everyone laugh. Ali then goes on to criticize men like Sergio, claiming that they are terrible lovers who use people for intimacy, and then disappear. He even reveals that Leela had slept with Sergio but hasn't heard from him since. Leela shares her own story about what happened with Sergio, and Ali becomes angry with Ayman when he speaks similarly to Sergio. One of the girls asks if Leela wants to see Sergio again, and Sergio's ex-girlfriend explains that he is like a child but she still cares for him. She even made him part of her family. The conversation turns to a fight that occurred at a previous party. Ali tries to lighten the mood by playing music on his phone and dancing seductively on Ayman's lap. The ladies become excited watching Ali dance, and Sergio's ex-girlfriend even joins in the dance party. Leela also sings and dances a bit. Leela is lounging by the pool when she sees Rachel and her boyfriend Bruno cuddling and talking. Their intimacy makes Leela feel lonely, and she overhears their conversation before leaving the pool. In a room, Rachel signals Bruno to join her as Leela tries to cheer herself up. But when they start kissing and touching each other, Leela feels uncomfortable and decides to leave. As she walks outside, Rachel and Bruno approach her and ask if she was okay. They introduce themselves and ask Leela about herself. Leela reveals that it was her first time at the pool and that it was a birthday gift. Rachel and Bruno share that they have been coming to the pool for a while, and that they enjoy Parisian parties. Rachel also tells Leela that they are swingers and invites her to join them for dinner. Though Leela initially tries to refuse, Rachel persuades her that they just want to get to know her better and have some fun. Bruno adds that there is no pressure on Leela to do anything she doesn't want to. Leela ultimately agrees to the invitation, and Rachel fixes a date, assuring Leela that she won't regret it. Leela, Bruno, and Rachel are having dinner. Rachel comments about the dessert and kisses Bruno, telling him it's as tasty as his genitals. Leela takes a bite of the dessert and laughs as she hears the vulgar statement. Rachel laughs along as Bruno sips from a glass. Rachel continues eating and asks Leela if she wants a taste, but Leela declines, saying she doesn't like mixing food. Rachel says she will like it soon enough, and Leela smiles at that. When Rachel kisses Bruno, she offers Leela a bite and pulls the spoon away when Leela is close. Leela laughs and tells her to stop. She feels reluctant to eat from her spoon but finally does. A couple at the other table stares at Leela, Bruno, and Rachel as Leela is being fed. Meanwhile, Rachel eats what was left in the spoon and adjusts herself in her seat. She looks at Bruno and tells him what she wants. Once again, her statement makes Leela laugh. She covers her mouth with her palm, and Bruno asks Rachel what the cause of her hunger is. She blames the dessert, which makes Leela laugh some more. Rachel demonstrates what she wants, and Bruno spanks her bum, telling her to stop it. Leela laughs at the whole ordeal. A man at the other table tries to interrupt them, but they ignore him. Rachel asks Leela if she likes girls, and Leela says it's not her thing. Rachel pushes for more answers by asking if Leela was sure. Leela does not respond, and Rachel shifts closer to Leela, asking if she was sure. She moves even closer and holds Leela's face in her palm, caressing it. Rachel looks at her as she looks away, and Bruno says Leela doesn't seem to have an outright refusal. Leela covers her face in embarrassment, and Bruno tells her she would feel an incredible and intense joy if she takes the plunge. Leela laughs and looks at the couple, calling Bruno a philosopher. Rachel agrees with the statement, then adds her contribution. She says that when it comes to intimate matters, Bruno really is a philosopher. The couple at the other table complains to a staff member, who comes to the table as Rachel mentions they have been told off. She asks them to be more discreet and speak quietly, as they are upsetting the other customers. They all nod and the staff leaves. Rachel becomes upset and begins to shout about them leaving since they were bothering everyone. She speaks loudly as she asks Bruno if he wants to sleep with her. Leela tries to stop laughing as she covers her mouth. They walk down the street, laughing at the scene they caused in the restaurant. Rachel subtly looks at Leela and says it was enough. She takes Leela by the wrist and places her against a car. She looks at Leela, who realizes that Rachel is about to kiss her. She tries to reject it, but her desire makes her give in, and she kisses Rachel. They kiss passionately by the car. Rachel lifts Leela's leg, and Bruno joins them, each taking turns to kiss each other. The next morning, they all lay in bed, asleep. Leela walks down a street and sees Remy at a restaurant. She turns away and is reluctant to see him, but she sits with him outside the restaurant. Remy apologizes. He says he never really said it to her face, and he knew he acted like an idiot. Leela tells him she knew why he took off. She is not bothered by the things he was saying. Remy continues to talk, his mind all over the place. Before he can complete his sentence, Leela completes it for him, telling him she knew the scores. He told her before he left, and she also found out he was in contact with Miriam. She looks away from him, and he looks at her, asking what was it and insinuating she had a new person in her life. She asks him what he meant by the things he was saying, but he wants to know why she is distant. Leela shakes her head and is disgusted by his statement. She tells him it wasn't easy. He tells her she doesn't know him, but she asks him to stop and mentions things he does that hurt her. She adds that she isn't there to argue with him, and he says he isn't either. She says he didn't inform her he was back, and he says he still loves her and wants them to be back together. He says he made a mistake and he thinks of her all the time. Leela doesn't look at Remy as he speaks. He tells her he came back to her, and it feels like magic. As Leela and Remy walk up the street, Leela covers herself. When they reach her destination, Leela says goodbye, but Remy insists on walking her home. However, Leela strongly declines his offer, but he tells her she can't walk and jokingly comments that she looks like a gypsy, which makes Leela laugh and tell him to stop. Suddenly, he blocks her path, pulls her hood off, and kisses her passionately. Leela responds to his kiss and they both continue kissing as he presses her against a nearby car. Eventually, Leela flips Remy around and he kisses her neck as she holds him tighter. After their encounter, Leela sheds a few tears in her apartment. Charlie and Leela are both eating. He asks her about her love life, and she tells him it is not going anywhere. He questions her, and she throws the question back at him. He says the same thing while shaking his head. He tells her he doesn't have a girlfriend anymore. After a few bites, he adds that his previous relationship wasn't going well. Leela tells him love is complicated and not easy, and he says he has something for her. But he wants to finish his meal first. She tells him he has chocolate all over while laughing, and he turns his face for her to wipe it off. She cleans his lower lip, and he gets up to go bring what he has for her. Leela keeps eating as she waits, and Charlie quickly returns and hands her a bag with a little note placed on it. She asks what's in it, and Charlie just looks at her as she opens the bag and pulls out a framed photograph from their photo shoot. She tells him it's beautiful and he says it got him into photography school. He says he wrote "You Deserve a Lover" on it because Frida Kahlo wrote a poem with that title, and it reminded him of Leela. Leela tells Charlie she didn't know Frida wrote poetry, and he recites it to her. Leela gets emotional as he recites the poem. She tells him it's beautiful and begins to cry. Charlie looks intensely into her eyes, and when he is done reciting, he tells her it reminds him of her. He calls her Frida Kahlo to the core, and she gives a sad smile. He tells her that he recited the poem for her because he knows she will have a partner that will love her, and she will be happy. She wipes her tears as she listens, but more flows out. He tells her love takes time and she is still young. Charlie gives her a reassuring smile and says things will be better, and she shows her appreciation with words of gratitude. Leela hears the doorbell ring and goes to answer it, but Remy barges in. When she tells him to leave, he forces her against the wall and tries to fight her, but Charlie intervenes and separates them. Remy demands to know who Charlie is, and Leela shields him and says he is her new lover. Remy doesn't believe her and calls them pathetic, asking if she walks him to school. Leela tells him to leave, but Remy continues to agitate her. She starts to cry, telling him to get out. Eventually, Remy leaves the apartment, and Leela cries while telling Charlie she can't take it anymore and is sick of Remy. Charlie tries to comfort her and stays with her for the rest of the day. He rubs her hand as she falls asleep on her bed, and the movie ends.